What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today is a little different because today I'm going to teach you how to very quickly identify a 1968 to 1972 Oldsmobile Cutlass. All right, so hopefully my microphone doesn't pick up my computer fan going, but like I said, this video is going to be just a super basic overview. So this video is going to be geared more towards the new folks who are just getting into cars, just getting into Oldsmobiles, or it could be for those who like Oldsmobiles but don't know a ton about them, and maybe some of you veterans will learn a little something new too. So basically what my goal is if you're out and about or if you're at a car show and you see a 68 to 72 Oldsmobile, my hope is that by the end of this video, you'll know how to tell one apart. So I guess let's jump right into it. This first picture here is of a 1968 Oldsmobile Cutlass. So I'm going to go through all these and try to point out the same things in each car. So the first thing and the primary thing is going to be the headlights. So the headlights, as you'll see here, they've got these square surrounds. They're sort of spread apart, and I believe this square box in the middle here is the blinker. So that is a key design feature of identifying a 68. Now let's compare that directly to the 1969. You can see the headlights are much closer together, and they don't really seem to have these surrounds, or maybe only one of them does. So just going quick back and forth, you can see on the 68 they're spread far apart. On the 69 they are much closer together. Another thing that ties into this obviously is the grille. So with the 68, the headlights are far apart, which leaves room for much less grille area. It's got this short pointed grille. It's got these vertical slats in it. Whereas if you look at the 1969, this is where you start to get the first year of the hood tongue for these cars. Which is basically when you open the hood, you've got this section here that sort of hangs down and jabs you in the back of the head if you're not careful. So with the headlights closer together, you get much more grille area, which is separated by this centerpiece here. So now let's compare these two to the 1970. Once again, you've got much closer headlights, similar to the 1969, but now you've got these silver square surrounds for the headlights and a slightly different grille design. You can see there's a little more of a, rather than a square straight across or a rectangle straight across for the 1969, you can see the 70 starts to maybe dip down a little bit. Now let's go to the 1971. You don't have a hood tongue this year. They separated that. So if you see this little gap right here, that's an okay identifier for a 1971. You've got the close headlights again, and they've got these silver surrounds again. But now look at this grille area. It's much more square, whereas the 1970 was a little less square, a little more of a rectangle. 1969 was a rectangle, and the 1968 was this pointed, sort of smaller rectangle. But so for the 1971, you've got these big boxy grille openings. Gives it a very aggressive look. We'll get into the hoods a little later, because that's another identifier there. But like I said, no hood tongue. There's this little gap here where this was its own separate piece. Square grills, close headlights. Now let's move on to the 1972. 1972 is very similar to 1971. You can see the headlights are close together, and they're the square surrounds. You've got the big boxy grille openings here. But a key identifier for the 1972 is the black fill-in, or the black surrounds rather than silver. The grills here also not entirely black. You've just got kind of like this black stripe with the silver grills. Not sure if that was a design feature for all of the 1972s, but definitely these black headlight surrounds are one of the quicker ways to identify 1972 compared to the other years. So now let's go over the hoods. So for 1968, sort of flowing with the design of the grille, you had this sort of special design here in the middle. So this hood area here, as it sort of flows up from the grille, I believe is dipped down slightly. I haven't seen too many of these cars, so I'm not super familiar with them, but this hood, I believe, is unique to this car. And when you go to the 1969, you get what I believe is another unique hood. It's got this center sort of pinch line in the middle. and it's much more flat and rectangular compared to the 1970. 1970, you've got these two sort of humps right here with a flatter section in the middle. Again, gives it a more aggressive sort of body and motion type of look. For the 1971, this is a 442, so this isn't a super great example, but you can see if you look right along the top edge of the hood here, see how on the 70 it's really flat? The 71, you've got these two arches here for the grille opening. A lot of people think that, this is what I was trying to say before, there's a common misconception that like any year hood will fit any year car, and that's not true. And this is exactly why, because these arches are exclusive to 1971 and 1972, and you can see the same thing on this 1972 picture here. So your 71 to 72 hood will not fit 68, 69, or 70. And same thing goes for your 68 hood will not fit your 70, and your 69 hood won't fit your 72, and so on and so forth. Now, going back through these same pictures again, sort of going down the side view of the car, taking a look at the fenders and the quarter panels here. So your fenders are this front area here, your quarter panels are back here. For 1968 and 1969, these were sort of bubbly is how I describe them. They're sort of a low hip kind of look, like as you look towards the back here, it sort of bulges out kind of like a hip does. And it's got these lower crease lines here that follow the wheel arches. And here's a 1969. You can see it's a little more pronounced, and you can see the trim line sort of follows where that crease is on both wheel arches, but very bubbly back here, gives it sort of a wide hip kind of look. Now when you go to 1970 and 1971 and 1972, I believe, you get a much higher hip line here. So you get kind of this bulge. It's a little higher up here. It's sort of like if 1968 and 1969 were wearing a really nice fitting pair of jeans, 1970, 71, and 72 sort of hiked their britches up a little bit and ended up with this crease line here. It flows very nicely, I think, with this front body line here. Sort of gives it a, I guess, a Coke bottle look. But so that's how you can tell if you're only getting like a side view. If you're seeing this higher body line up here compared to the lower bump, I guess, or curve of the 1968 and 1969, if you've got that higher body line, you know you're looking at 70, 71, 72, somewhere in there. Now, unfortunately, I don't know that there's a whole lot to identify these cars from the side other than those. If you know a little more, go ahead and leave a comment down below. If you want to get real technical, you could look at the side marker lights, but I think to some extent the side marker lights are pretty similar through these years. I don't know that between 70, 71, and 72 you can tell them apart, and I don't know that 68 to 69 you can tell them apart. But like I said, if you know more, or you know how to identify these with the side marker lights, go ahead and leave a comment below. But so we'll continue right along here. We'll start looking at the taillights here. So just like before, this first picture is the 1968. You can see the taillights are very thin. So you've got what looks to be two sections here, but I believe this is all one piece. And again, if I'm saying anything wrong, or you know a little better than me, feel free to leave a comment down below, correct me. My whole goal is to learn, so if I'm teaching wrong, feel free to chime in. But so it looks like this is all one piece, very thin taillights back here compared to the 1969, which is this single piece vertical tail light here. So I guess to also compare the reverse lights, you've got these two small circles right above the tailpipes here on the 1968. Those are your reverse lights there. Versus on the 1969, you've got these two squares right above the tailpipes there. So another little design change there. So for the 1970, you've got twin vertical brake lights on each side, and you've got single vertical sort of rectangular reverse lights on each side. Closer to the license plate, not above the tailpipe anymore. There's just not really enough room on the bumper for that. all of these taillights are single year only, so you can't go changing taillights in between. You might be able to fit bumpers, like if you trade bumpers, if you put like a 1970 bumper on a 1968, you might be able to get that to work, but it is going to look funky. It's definitely going to stand out that that is not the correct year stuff. So going from 1970 to 1971, the taillights are horizontal rather than vertical, and you've still got two on each side, and you've got what look to be slightly larger reverse lights here, again closer to the bumper rather than above the tailpipe like on 68 and 69. Now for 1972, you still have horizontal taillights, but they're split up into these three sections here. This is a very unique feature, I think, for the 1972. Sort of a fun fact more than anything, but there are LED taillights now for these cars that you can get sequential kits for, and it basically makes it look like a Mustang sequential light or some of the newer German car sequential lights now. It's pretty neat. But so for 72, you've got horizontal taillights on each side. You've got, I believe, the same 1971 reverse lights, but again, the taillights are split up into these three sections here. So now I'll put up all four pictures of the cars just so you can see sort of all together the differences. Here are the headlights and how different they are. And as I do these, feel free to pause the video and see if you can see all these differences for yourself. So here's the headlights. Here's the taillights. Here are the side shots where you can see the differences between the 68 and 69 lower body line versus the 70 to 72 higher body line. Here are the hoods. So this is by no means a 100% how to identify any of these cars. I mean, it's just a quick overview on how to tell the differences between the years. So that way, if you're at a car show and you've got a buddy, it says, how do you know that that's a 1968 versus a 1971? You can go ahead and share this knowledge with them and help grow a little bit of the knowledge on these cars. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. And if you'd like to see more videos like this on the channel, please click the like button down below and leave a comment saying that you liked it and you want to learn more about these cars. If you want to keep up with what I'm doing with the cars or keep up with these lessons, because I think I'm going to do a couple more, please click subscribe and click the little bell next to subscribe so that way you get notified whenever I post a new video. And if you know anybody that likes these cars or wants to learn more about Oldsmobiles and cool cars in general, please share this video with them. That's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.